The manga for My Life as Inukai-san's Dog has finished, and honestly, could it have ended in any other way than it did?
ミャネかどうしたミャネワンワンワンワンクーンクーン
The anime for Inukai-san Dog aired last winter, and it blew up for all the right or wrong reasons, and what a freaking ride it was. Over a year later, and I start to see this series pop up in my feed again. But why? Well, the final chapter of Inukai-san's Dog has wrapped and unwrapped everything up, and let's say that it didn't disappoint for the standards of this series. So, what did I do? Well, what any trash degenerate would do, of course. I locked myself in my room, and I read all 65 chapters plus the bonus chapters, and then I beat myself up. Look, this series is very controversial, I know. Main dude gets turned into a dog who just so happens to be found and taken in by his crush, who also just so happens to have a very weird fetish for dogs. Yeah, we've seen some things. Thus, the series pushed the boundaries as far as humanly possible, and honestly, way beyond that. The series was extremely lewd, having censored and uncensored versions, and the reaction from the anime community was, of course, very mixed. You had people who were grossed out by it, you had people who were disgusted, in fact, and then you had the lower end of society, people like you and I. People who appreciate culture. Those who enjoy the fan service aspect. The ones who just want a bit of anime booba in their series. Again, look, even trash like us knew that this series was a bit weird, and there were many moments where we were questioning a lot of things. But we were entertained by Inukai-san's Dog, man. It was great, and there was actually way more to this show than what's obviously spoken about. But of course, it is that shock factor that this series does so well to get eyes on it, and it did that in its ending, so let's talk about that. Now, if you haven't read the ending yet and want to, pause the video here or skip to this part of the video where I talk about the series overall. So, chapter 65, titled My Hand, is pretty much a wrap-up chapter. A lot of the heavy lifting in terms of confessions happen in the previous one. So Pochita is human again, he turns down Usagi and had previously turned down Nekatani a few chapters before, so he can now finally confess to Inukai, which he does, and it was very, very beautiful. I loved that very much. So chapter 65 is what happened next. Now, we see Pochita working a part-time job as a newspaper delivery boy. He encounters Nekatani and Usagi on his route, showing what they've gone on to do next. He then meets Inukai and gives her a ride to school. Not the ride you're thinking of, dirty, dirty person, though keep that thought in the back of your mind. They arrive early and chill out for a bit at the flower garden he and Usagi were looking after when he asks for Inukai's hand. She is extremely excited because this is very dog-like behavior in her mind, but our king, our champion, whips out a ring that he's been working to save up for and places it on her finger. Perhaps an engagement ring, not too sure. Inukai is so happy and does what any girl would do in this situation and kisses her man, which this manga of course makes overly graphic, and we love it for doing that. Now, if you've been following this story, you'll know that these kiss situations get a little crazy. So, Pochita can transform between his human and dog form if he takes in a girl's fluid that gets his heart racing, and yeah, if you were ever wondering what happened to this series, did it get lewder, more ecchi, maybe even weirder? Well, yeah, all of those things, it really did. This situation right here sums that up. Now, this concept was originally presented in the form of a kiss, but this series went batshit on this idea, from spit to sweat to even breast milk. It was so freaking wild. Anyway, of course here Pochita turns into his dog form after the kiss, and there's some really sweet dialogue basically saying that you can have the best of both worlds with me. Because Inukai over the course of the series does fall for his human form, but obviously she loves Pochita the dog. And I understand this sounds really freaking weird, but as you follow the series, there's actually a really cool story beneath all of this, something I wasn't expecting at all. And in terms of the chapter, it seems pretty normal. Considering what Inukai Inukai's dog is capable of anyway. Like, it's been pretty much safe for work up to this point. Well, in his dog form, Inukai, as you have guessed, gets excited and wants to play a game of check out my panties. So we get the classic fan service pantsu shots where Pochita comes to the realization, a beautiful one of, wait, we're dating now, so I can look. I don't have to be a pervert anymore. Which, for trash degens like us, is our version of they lived happily ever after. Inukai, after having her fun, now wants Pochita in his human form, and to do that, yeah, she has to neck the dog. And look, I'm a very, very dirty boy. I like a lot of fan service, and I'm down for some of the weird shit in anime, but the panels of dog smooching are really not the one for me, you know? But alas, it happens, and Pochita is now back in human form, and the manga ends really wholesomely, to be honest, where Inukai declares that the two are lovers. It's really sweet, love to see it, good ending. However, despite some of the lewd, or I guess just weird panels in this chapter, it's not really shocking, is it? Not for the standards of Inukai's dog anyway, which I suppose is a credit to just how far this series went throughout its story. If you remember, I said that this series ended in a shocking way, right? Well, enter chapter 65.5, the special chapter that follows this, entitled Our First Time Mating. Oh god. For stupidly obvious reasons, I'm not going to show any of this because YouTube. But the chapter opens with the line, Master, my mother isn't home today. And very, very, very quickly does this chapter get absolutely insane. It is incredibly graphic, but it's cool because Pochita is in his human form, right? So this is actually freaking rad. Let's go this chapter. But what happens during the heat of passion? Yeah, a kiss. And we've established what happens with a kiss in this series. And no, that it doesn't stop anything. Not even another kiss happens. Instead, she finally does it. What everyone's been expecting. She f***s the dog. I don't know what I was expecting from this series. I was just horny and I wanted to see the graphic anime girl booba, but then there was the dog's tail involved and it all got really, really weird very quickly, and wow. So yeah, you can honestly say that Inukai's dog really didn't disappoint in its send-off. The main chapter gave us a bit of pantsu and a wholesome ending, but the writer obviously thought, psych, nah man, this ain't how we play around these streets, and then dropped Inukai's most graphic work ever. Like, wow, traumatizing. And this is from a fan of the series, can I just say. Like, reading through the entire story, I honestly have to say, I'm surprised by it, in a good sense. I got way more than I bargained for, but Inukai's dog really left my brain in a state of confusion that it's never been in before. I'm like, Inukai's dog is good, but it's bad. It's very bad. But I liked it, but it's bad. Like, I don't know what to think anymore. Who am I? Where am I? What year is it, you know? But I've got to say, overall, awesome. I was definitely surprised that there was a pretty good story going on here. It wasn't just throwing a bunch of weird shit together. There was structure, intrigue, payoff. I actually cared about the characters and they fleshed them out too. So we got a full understanding of what was going on with each and every one of them. So it's like, oh, Inukai is this really freaky chick who's into weird shit with dogs. No, there's actually reason and deep reason for her love for dogs. Why did he become a dog? There's an actual story for that and a plot that adds freaking story to the weird dog show. The other girls, I ended up actually wanting to root for all of them. Inukai, weird dog thing, but I love a kinky girl and she's actually really cute. Nekotani, I thought you were a side character at first. I do love me a Neko girl, won't lie, but wait, you become very important to the story. They give us so much more of you. Now I think I'm in love with her. Usagi, as I said, I like a girl with kinks, and this girl definitely has them with corners, hugging pillows, and even recorders. But you have the childhood friend thing going on, and if it were me, I may actually have picked you with the shared interests and stuff and whatnot, and she was also hot. Another thing that Inukai does so well is, let's face it, the dirty stuff. When it comes to fan service, they really have it down. The art is beautiful, they know what to show and when. As a pervert, couldn't be happier, but it has its moments when it gets really freaking weird. Sometimes too weird, and other times the weird is actually very entertaining. Like, there was a part involving brushing the girl's teeth, and it was heavily directed to look like a certain act, and it was super weird, but I was just laughing and having fun with how obscure it was, and a little horny. Goddamn why? Inukai's dog hits every aspect, and as I said, I got way more out of this series than I thought I would. And now that the manga is done, the real question is, will Inukai's dog get a second season? I really freaking hope so. I feel the series gets better and better the more you read, and it would honestly be a crime not to get more of it. I honestly hope it doesn't become a god tier ecchi series that never gets a second season. Just like this one. Haven't seen it? Definitely check it out. No season 2, but the waifu in the series is so worth the pain.